If you're a regular follower of this channel or of my blog, you'll know that I love the command line. And when it comes to JSON data, I love JQ and various other bash commands using grep and cut to get through data and find what I'm looking for. This comes from my years working on a cert as an analyst, and a lot of what we just did was in the bash command line. Still, there are times when it's really useful to stand up a more robust solution to go through logs. And so today we're going to go through getting set up a Splunk container and populating it with Cloudtrail logs. This is not like a continuous monitoring situation, but rather if I've got a hunk of data, I want to just get something stood up, throw the data in, index it once, and then be able to perform quick searches and get robust overviews. Splunk is a great way to do that. So that's what we're going to do. Let's go ahead and take a look. I'm going to start us off with some data here from the one of the Hack the Box Sherlock Nublium, I believe it is, Nublium 1. And so we'll unzip that. The password is hack the blue. And we're not really going to solve this challenge in this video, but we're just going to use this data as some Cloudtrail data to work with and to highlight some of the challenges of Cloudtrail data and how we want to get into Splunk. You can probably see there's a ton of files there. In fact, if we'll focus on the Cloudtrail, so we're going to here, we can focus on the Cloudtrail data. So if we do a find on Cloudtrail, in fact, if we just, let's do name, star.json, and we'll do that in a word count minus L. So we have 13,000 files, 13,000 JSON files in here. So there's a lot of data here, okay? So again, I can do this with JQ. And in fact, I'll show some of that in this video when we run into some issues about how that works. So we'll get, it's certainly solvable, but it's slow, and each command has to reprocess all the data over again. So we're going to dive in and check out Splunk. So to get this set up, the first thing we need to do is we're going to do a Docker pull. Actually, I wanted to show, this is let's grab here and pull, ooh, came in soon. There's a Splunk page here with just great set of information about the Splunk container. And specifically, we really just need two commands to get it up and going. We're going to need to pull the image down, and then we're going to run the image, and we'll talk about each of these commands. I didn't actually, the rest of these are pretty much part of it. And that's all we need to know from here. So let's go over here. We'll pull this over, minimize view. So we're going to do a Docker pull on Splunk. And my spacebar doesn't seem to be working well today. And we can do Splunk latest and enter. And this takes a minute. If you're not familiar with Docker, what it's really doing now is grabbing all of the different pieces of the container, each of these layers, and assembling them together. So you can see it's downloading them and extracting them all together. And once they're, once one by one, it's pulling these things, combining to form what the end image is going to look like. And once that's done, we'll have it. This will take just another second. But now we're here. It's okay. So we'll do that command they gave. So it's Docker run. That's going to run the Docker. -D just says run it in the background. In fact, we'll leave that off for a minute just so we can see what it's doing. -P says forward ports. So we're going to say port 8000 on my local host. It's going to go to port 8000 on the container. -E gives us some environment variables. So Splunk start args is one they want us to use, and that's just accept license like that. And I'm guessing that's just an environment variable that has to say the license has already been accepted, so I don't have to deal with that on startup. And the other one we're going to do is Splunk password, and that's going to equal, we'll just make it password. And that's going to be password to start, and now we can do Splunk, and that works. Ooh, I probably need to give it latest. There we go. And let's see. The license is not accepted. Did I not spell this right? ACCEPTLIC. Let's see. Splunk start args equals ACCEPTLIC. Oh, it's DAT. So that's why we need the Splunk that variable. So you can see it actually looks like it's using using Ansible to start up, which is kind of cool. I just recognize this Ansible output format, and it's running here. It's going to take a minute. Let's see. We'll go here and we can do Docker PS. And we can see here this is running. It's running for about 18 seconds. Health is starting. I thought this takes a while to start, and you can see that these tasks will run for a while, then they'll stop. They'll run for a while, then they'll stop. If I go up here too soon, I can actually go into Firefox and do, let's do localhost 8000, and it's possible if you go like right away, before that first burst, this will actually pose a login screen, but then when you try to submit, it's down again. So it actually comes up, goes down, comes up, but it usually takes about a minute or two to get started. 50 seconds is probably still a little short. So I'm going to pause here and just come back when this is up and running. All right, and it looks like we've got the Splunk login page here. Let's see, we've been running for about a minute, so but less than 2 minutes, but not that exact. You can see it does start when it says, you'll see here on the top, Ansible playbook complete. Now, if I ran with the -D, all of this output would be in the background, which is fine. Usually, most of the time I run it, I don't really need to see this, but if you do see it, it'll give you the output. It looks here, it looks like it ran for 1 minute and 10 seconds before it got here. So we've got a Splunk instance. We can log in. Username admin, password is whatever I set as the password in that environment variable, which was, for me, was just password. We can log in. All right, we don't need the tour. We're given the tour. So the first way I tried to get data going in here, and this is now we're kind of at some Cloudtrail specific stuff. Cloudtrail is the AWS log format. The first thing I did was to say, okay, well, so we can do a Docker PS. We can see Upbeat Jackson is the name of our container. So if I do a Docker copy with the spacebar, and I want to copy my Cloudtrail, let's see, what was my directory called? Nimba, let's see, actually let's do this. We'll go cd nublium1, we will Docker copy Cloudtrail to, what did I call it? Upbeat Jackson, and slash, like that. And what that's doing, so I literally am just copying that full directory into the container. In fact, if I do a Docker exec minus IT, Upbeat Jackson, bash, we can now see in the slash that there is a Cloudtrail directory. We can go into it. We can see our data is there just like we had it, right? We'll exit out of here. Now we can do add data, and we don't need the tour. We will, oops, that's not what I meant. Didn't mean to click. From here, we can do files imports on this instance. Then we can do files and directories. We can pick our Cloudtrail directory. That looks fine. We can skip through and take the default here. And we click start searching. And we're going to give this, it takes a minute to process. We don't need this here. Oh, we don't. We can skip the tour. We have 441 events. We have 5,000. I think, there we go, get up to 10,000 events. 10,000 events. In fact, so right here, the search by default is to say it's this Cloudtrail path, and the host is this, which is good as if you start to populate more data. If I'm using this as just a one-time thing, I can just really put star here and get all of the logs. And we've kind of topped out here. Oh, we're still adding a few. We're up to 12,000. If I actually go to look at these data, though, it's actually not super useful. And the problem is, in fact, I'm averaging like 1 log per file there. Because remember I had like 13,000 files? Or maybe we're still parsing. Now it's still kind of capping out at 12,000 there. And the problem is these records, and we view this as raw text. It's a mess to look at, but you see right away that it starts off with a records field, which then has a list, which contains a bunch of other stuff. And we come down to the bottom, this one actually looks fine. It doesn't do it, but if we look at a bunch of these, we'll see that some of them actually truncate right in the middle. These are all actually looking fine, but there are going to be some that actually get truncated. But we actually have this more complicated format. In fact, we'll look at it. If we go to, let's see, if we do a cat on Cloudtrail, because there's 2 things to notice. One is there's 2 folders there. So we have Cloudtrail and Cloudtrail Digest. If we look at the digest ones, I'm just picking an arbitrary one here, 18, like this. What do we got? Ooh, T211, boom. Into JQ dot, into less, make you big. There's nothing useful in here. This is just like data about the files that got pulled. And I don't need to pull this in. So I don't care about that. That's for one. So we can get rid of that data. The other thing we can notice, oops, if we cat Cloudtrail, and we do this, let's see, EU central, we can make a date, 25, and we give a time. Oh, wait, a lot of possibilities. Let's just pick a time, 0, oh no, 00. We're getting better. Where was I? 0020, we'll go with. Always more of these. Okay, 7. Boom. Okay, so we do that into same thing, JQ dot into less. We'll see. So we have the record, and then we have event version, event time, event source, etc. And if we come down here enough, we have event version, event time, event source. We come down here again. Here's event version. So we have all these different logs as an array in the records thing, and that's not what we want. We don't. We want each of these logs to be handled as their own thing. So I could set up filters for how I parse these in, getting rid of these fields, removing, sort of like specifying the new line in different ways. But to me, the cleanest way to do this is actually just to get this all into one file. And so I'm going to do that with a find command. So I'm going to say find on Cloudtrail. In fact, we can go in here and do that. We can do name. Oops, did not mean to do that. Let's do name star.json. So we're going to get all the JSON files. In fact, we can look at this and see how many files we're going to get. 8,681. Instead of just outputting them, we will exec. So for each one we find, we will cat that file like that. And so now we're going to have all this JSON data just pouring out to the terminal. So we're going to pipe that into JQ, and we'll do .records like this. And that will print, they'll basically take each of the .records things, generate it into its own formats. And so if we do this again, we can say into like less, and you can see right here, now we have this record is its own thing. If we scroll down a little bit, here we have the beginning of a new record, etc. In fact, if we do this, we do JQ minus C, which means put each record on its own line. Instead of less, we can now see how many records we have. Let's see, cat terminated by signal 13. That's weird. I'm not quite sure what that is, but let's take a look here. Okay, no errors that time. It must have been the error here. This error, so when word count failed, it killed this whole command, and that terminated all the cats piping into it. But so now you can see we have 39,446 records, a lot more. And so rather than do that, rather than word count it, we will just put this into cloudtrail.json, and in a second or less than a second or two, we've now managed to acquire ourselves a single folder with all of our Cloudtrail stuff. So we need to clear out Splunk and give ourselves a new instance. We could kill the container completely, but that feels like a waste of time. There's a neat thing here where we do pipe into delete, and it's going to tell me, oh, I don't have privileges. So we're going to fix that real quick. We'll go to roles. We are the admin role. We are going to add the can delete. We will acknowledge that's okay. We will click save. We will come back here to our thing, and we will delete. And now it works. So now if I come back here and put a star in, oops, I don't know why I ended up over there. Let's see. If I come back here and just put star, I've got no events. So fresh start. Back to settings, add data. This time we're going to just choose upload a file from our computer. Before we had to copy it onto the container because we had a whole directory structure. This time we have a single file. So we're just going to go there and we will grab cloudtrail.json and we will upload it. We click next. I'm going to actually run through this. We're going to do this twice. The first time I'm going to show you what happens if we just sort of accept these defaults. And so we can do that. We're going to just click next, review, click next, submit, and start searching. And right away, we have 39,445. Is that what we had before? We lost one log in there somewhere. I'm going to say it's probably okay. We have basically the same number of logs before. We had all the logs. The data's being parsed. We can sort of see we've got these, it's breaking things down into fields. So you can see our selected fields over here. Yeah, we got data here. We can work in Splunk. The challenge, there's two issues here that make this not how I want it. For one, if you look at our time fields, that's right now. So it's basically just said, take every data and just assume it's right now. And that's annoying because if you ever want to sort by time or timeline things, like it's nice to have this field lined up for what I want. So that's issue number one. Issue number two, I'm going to actually take a pre-canned query here and paste it in. And what exactly this is doing, I mean, we're going to get all the event names of run instances. We're going to make a table of event ID and instance ID. And anytime you see this little squiggly brackets, it's basically saying this items thing was a list. So we're going to just get all of them in here. And when we run this, we'll see we have 8 events. And the event IDs, here's 7 of them show event IDs. This one strangely doesn't. These two don't show any instance IDs. I got 4 here. One of the questions in this challenge is actually to say how many instances were spawned. And if we count these up, we'll get 11 or 12, but that's actually wrong. And the reason is because our data came out. So let's take this off and come here. If we look at these things, we could hopefully try to remember what those IDs were. One of the things that's nice to do, it looks like it's already done it for me here, is make sure like event IDs in one of these is checked here. If I have, oops, I didn't mean to do that, but let's see. We'll add it back. I took off some other stuff. We might have to add those back later. But I added, by checking that here, that means that it shows right here in the column. So you have the raw date, you have the kind of start of the raw, but then you also have, here's the event ID, right? So we can kind of quickly scroll through here and say, oh, I think I took the response instances off. Okay, that's fine. We can scroll through here and see here's this. This one has an event ID. This one right here doesn't show an event ID. If we come here and look, make this is like a big, like it's like truncated right in the middle of the line. And that is because by default, Splunk has a maximum, the Splunk JSON parser has a maximum of 10,000 characters. We can grab this. I'm not sure if this is going to work. Let's test it out though. We do echo space colon and paste all of that in, close that, and type it to word count. 10,001 characters. So that's exactly right. So we truncated right at the 10,000 character point. And it managed to pull some data out of this and still get us stuff. But it didn't get us all the stuff. So it looks like we have 4 instances spawning here. We can do a similar thing here. If we do cat, let's see, where did I put it? Cloudtrail.json. And if we now do this into JQ, if we do a select, and in this case, we're going to do event name equals run instance. I think that's right. And if we do a -c into, and I always like to test myself as I build these kind of pipelines into word count -l. We think there's 8 records. We got no records, so that's not good. I bet it's run instances. 8 records. So we got our 8 records here. Now we want not just to do that, but we're going to say dot response element dot instances set, and then we'll pipe that into select dot items. So we don't want to get the errors for the ones that didn't have dot items, and then we'll do dot items. And this exactly, this I'm still kind of doing this quickly because it's not, the point of this is not to show off cool JQ, but just to show instance that we can do it and what we're looking for. ID. Let's see, we missed something here. What are we missing here? Run. What do we not like? Unexpected close quote. Instances. Select items. Oh, I don't need dot select. And you can see right there, we've got our things. Might as well do word count -l, and we got 13. Now that's the correct answer. So we got the right answer is achievable. Again, like I said at the beginning, we could do all of this in just using command line like this. But it's Splunk. There's a lot of things nice about Splunk. For one, the stuff's instant. Like that was not too bad, half a second, but it gets annoying to do over and over again. Plus, if I wanted to see those instance IDs across these 8 fields, if I come here and do all fields, ooh, what do I do? If I come here and fields, yeah, here we go. Instance ID. If I check this and hit enter, right away here it is showing up. There's 12 different instance IDs that show up across all of this data that is across the data that has run instances. That's wrong, but we're going to fix that. And once I have that fixed, that's much quicker than having to type all that out. So that's the benefit. So let's go ahead and we will do delete again. Like that. So we have no data again, and we're going to load it for one final time. And I'll show you the tricks of what's important here. So we'll add data just like before. We will upload, grab files, that's in Cloudtrail, Cloudtrail.json. And that parses up pretty quickly. We grab this. Now the first thing we're going to do is set the timestamp. So advanced, and we saw there's a field event time right there. We could also specify using the strp time format. So that's like percent capital Y for a 4-digit year, that kind of stuff. You can view that here. We can tell right now it's actually working fine because you can see our times have already turned into 125, 23, 118, 23. That matches up with the folders we saw in the Cloudtrail. So that feels good to us. The other thing we can do is down here in advanced, add a new setting, truncate 0. Now, for this to work, we're gonna actually have to save this. We can't save, before we were using the underscore JSON parser, now we're gonna need to make a different parser, so we'll just call it Cloudtrail, like that, and save it. And now we're using the source type Cloudtrail. We'll click next. This is all fine. We could look into creating indexes or things if this was gonna be a persistent version that we were gonna use, but again, I'm probably planning on using this for my analysis of this set of data and then kind of throwing it away, so review, this all seems fine. I don't need to organize the data because I'm just going to use star to search it. So now when I come in here and do searches, let me grab my search I had from before, paste that in, and now you can see we still have these two, and that I didn't show it, but we could go look back at these. These are actually run instance events that failed. So error messages come back instead of instances. That's fine, that makes sense. And then here we have not all our data. Delete you, come back here, search for star, make sure we're clear. We're clear, 0 events. Settings, data. I hope I wasn't just talking too much and not paying attention to what I was doing. We will add a file, Cloudtrail, then cloudtrail.json. We will next, we will pick our, so we could check our, let's see, Cloudtrail in here. I thought it would, but I don't see it. We'll do timescale, advanced. That did work. We saw that. Event ID. I believe the ID was no, event time. And that looks good. And advanced. And that's where we add from 0. Apply settings. And let's save as Cloudtrail. I guess I didn't check, did the time actually work? Okay, that already works. Do you want to overwrite? Yes, we'll overwrite it. Yes, yes, yes. Start searching. Paste in. And there we go. I don't know why it didn't work last time, but it worked that time. You can see there's 5 events here, so for a total of 1, 2, plus 5 is 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. This is a working instance of Splunk that'll do good things when I need to, get it going. So I'm gonna call it here. This was walking through setting up a Splunk VM. Thanks for hanging out with me to the end. I hope this was useful for you. Leave me a comment. Let me know if this was a cool thing to see, and I'll talk to you next time.